Hello, and welcome back to another reading. I am so glad you could join me today. You might notice I don't have the microphone cutting in. I've been having some technical difficulties lately, so I'm going with my secondary audio source. Let me know in the comments if it's working out. This hopefully won't be a long-term thing, but just in case. With that out of the way, I want to thank my patrons. As always, you guys are amazing. If you would like to join them, there are links to do so in the description. Joining my Patreon gives you access to the community Discord server. Depending on what level, you get digital downloads of my D&D parodies. So if that interests you, definitely check those out. I appreciate all of the support. Thank you guys so much. Now, I've got my book and my belligerently bookish bookmark. Please check them out. They're amazing. I've got my mug of drink. And I think with that out of the way, we're going to jump right back in to The Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques, Chapter 23. In the following weeks, the Sena covered many leagues. They were well out of the cold latitudes, and the weather became almost tropical, with constant sunshine beating down out of the clear blue skies. But Luke was getting edgy and frustrated. There had been no sign of the red ship, which could be anywhere in the trackless wastes of ocean they were searching. Between them, he and Denno began drawing up a chart from the northern shores to the isle where Bo had lived, and onward. Luke was disappointed that there were no other landfalls to act as route markers. "We're sailing blind, mate. At least if we had sighted land, there'd be some news of the red ship, but all we've seen for ages now is nothing but sea on every horizon." Denno put aside his quill pen, nodding in agreement. "Aye. We could do with taking on some fresh water, too, and supplies are running low. That hare must think his one job in life is dishing up mountains of victuals to the crew. Look at the stomach I've put on." Luke, however, would not hear, was not about to criticize his cook. "You can leave old Bo out of this, Denno. That hare can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned, mate. I never tasted such wonderful food in all my seasons." But Denno's words proved prophetic. It was on the afternoon of the following day that Verg scraped the bottom of one water cask with the dipper. "If we don't sight land soon, then I reckon we're in trouble, matey. Water's all but finished." Bo emerged from his galley, swinging a ladle. "No water? Well, we'll have to make do with cider and whatnot. Carter, what's the jolly old position on drinks other than water? You're my assistant sea cook." There was a rattling and scuttling from the galley. Then Cardo popped a mournful face round the door. "Down to the dregs, Bo. Down to the very dregs." The irrepressible Bo began climbing the rope ladder of the center mast. "Well, no use standing around with a face like a squashed apple, comrade of mine. Just have to scan the bloomin' horizon for land. What? Cardo cast a withering glance up at Bo. "Oh, just like that?" The hare was now clinging to the mainmast top, one paw shielding his eyes as he gazed eagerly all around. "Well, of course, just like that, you fat silly mouse. Hello there, chaps. Is that a smudge way out to the southwest? Land ho! Or at least, I bet it's something jolly close to land. Well done, old hare. Mentioned in dispatches, maybe jot down a line of praise or two with the ship's log, very least." Luke shoved Denno playfully. "You see, matey, told you, I wouldn't have a word said against old Bo. Caudle, set a course southwest. If that's land, we might make it before tomorrow morning." Tacking against the prevailing breezes, the Sena laid off the island 3 hours before dawn. A huge cone of what Luke took to be an extinct volcano reared dark and forbidding against the night sky. Though it was difficult to see much in the darkness, Bo noted that there were forests of trees growing on the slopes, and a shoreline of kinds. Luke spoke his thoughts to the hare as he sized up the situation. "We'd best stay offshore till it's light. There might be reefs twixt here and the beach. Don't see any signs of life ashore, but we'd best not chance anything till daylight. You go and get a bit of shut-eye with the crew, Bo. I'll call you when it is light." "Wouldn't think of it, old lad. You and I shall stand watch together, till the ravaging shades of night are flown, and earth is reborn in fiery sunlight of day." Luke leaned on the taffrail, eyes searching the shoreline. "Well said, Bo. Very poetic, mate." The talkative hare perked up. "Thank you kindly, Luke. I am rather glad you appreciate poetry. It is a modest effort I composed myself while longing the whiles I was back on my island. A mole and a duck went strolling one day." Luke's strong paws clamped around Bo's jaws, holding his mouth shut tight. "Either be quiet or go to sleep. If you don't, I'll put you to sleep with a belaying pin." As dawn broke, Luke roused the crew and they sailed cautiously in towards the shore. Now the island could be viewed clearly. The beach was dark, bluey-black volcanic sand. A thin plume of white smoke drifted lazily from the top of the rock cone which dominated the space, denoting that the volcano was not altogether extinct. Purple and scarlet flowers bloomed thick in the foothills, and many of the trees had huge spear-shaped leaves. It was an exotic scene, though the total silence made it rather sinister. As Verg watched the Seina's prow nose into the sandy shallows, he conveyed his misgivings to Luke. "I'm getting that same feeling I had last time we came to an island. I don't like it, matey. Too quiet for a place that looks so fertile. There's got to be some sort of creatures living here." Luke pointed to the shore. "You're right, Verg. See there, slightly above the tide line. What do you make of that?" Bo elbowed his way to the prow. "A great pile of fruit! The creatures must be jolly friendly, leaving a gift like that for us." Luke frowned. "Too friendly, perhaps. Let's not be too hasty. There's something about this little offering that doesn't ring true." But Bo was already leaping the side. "Come on, you chaps! I'll be food taster. My stomach's as steady as a jolly old rock. What? Before Luke could stop them, most of the crew had followed the hare, bounding overboard into the shallows and splashing ashore towards the heap of luscious fruit piled on the beach. Verg chuckled as the hare picked a grape, tossed it, and caught it deftly in his mouth. He waited a few seconds and then waved a large bunch of wild grapes at the ship. "Still standing, me hearties! Delicious! Come on, everybody, tuck in!" Luke and Verg watched as they all pounced hungrily on the mysterious gift. "Ahoy, Bo!" called Verg. "Bring some back for us." "Right you are, Verg. I say, chuck the empty casks overboard and we'll see if we can find a stream to fill 'em from." Being the only two left on board, Verg and Luke rolled all the casks out and tipped them over the side. Verg tied the tiller in position so the ship would not drift. "I was wrong, Luke. This island seems quite friendly now. Perhaps Bo was right, and whoever left the fruit doesn't mean us any harm. Mayhap they'll show themselves before the day's out." A stream of fresh water actually flowed across the shore, not far from the heap of fruit. Doolam and Cardo filled the casks and got them back to the ship. Luke rigged a rope through the mainsail's top block, and between them he and Verg hoisted the casks of water aboard. Doolam and Cardo waded back to join their friends ashore. Luke called after them, "Make the most of it! Tell the crew I want them back on deck by sunset. We sail at first tide tomorrow." Luke was busy stowing the casks in the galley when Verg shouted urgently from out on deck, "On shore, mate! Come and see!" He left what he was doing and hurried out. Some of the crew were lying down amid the fruit. Some were sitting aimlessly nearby, whilst one or two of the remainder were staggering oddly about. All appeared to have slack grins on their faces. Luke yelled, "Ahoy, Cole, Doolam, Bo! What's the matter, mates?" Doolam collapsed on the sand. Cole fell on top of him. Only Bo remained standing. The hare gave a faint giggle, tried to wave, and then his legs gave out, and he sat down awkwardly, staring at the ship, smiling foolishly. Luke smote the taffrail. "The fruit! I should have known it. Come on, Verg." But Verg was pointing to where the foothills met the shore. "Wait! Those bushes are moving!" Halfway over the side, Luke checked himself. He could scarce believe his eyes. The entire hillside had come to life. Literally hundreds of bushes were moving across the shore in a massive screen of foliage. On instinct, he leapt back aboard and dragged Verg down flat. A veritable hail of missiles struck the boat. Arrows, javelins, spears, and stones. Drums began pounding aloud, and an eerie wailing rose up from the bushes, followed by another salvo of missiles. Luke grabbed a long boat hook. "Get your spear, Laverg! Pole her off into deeper water!" Scurrying forward, they pushed the vessel into the ebb tide, grunting with exertion as they pressed hard against their poles. An arrow thwacked into Verg's shoulder, and Luke ignored a deep javelin graze across his cheek. "Push, Verg! Give it all we've got, mate!" The Seina's keel scraped free of the sand. Luke dashed recklessly astern and slashed the rope which held the tiller rigid. Wheeling sideways, the Seina caught the tide. Luke flattened himself as another rain of death peppered the ship, which... Then she was bow out, sailing free. Arrows sticking up from the dark timbers as if a pincushion snapped against Luke's footpaws as he dashed back to Verg's side. Wincing, the brave mouse tugged the shaft from his shoulder. "Luckily that arrow's flight was nae spent and my tunics are good and thicken. I'm not bad hurt, Luke. What about you?" Luke pawed blood from the cut on his cheek. "Only a scratch, mate. I'll live. Whoever they are, 'tis plain they can't shoot straight. Great seasons, look!" Verg stared in amazement at the diminishing shoreline. Silent and deserted the beach lay, as if no beast had ever been there. All that remained was a pile of squashed fruit. Verg turned in bewilderment to his friend. "Where have they gone? Denno, Caudle, Bo, the whole crew are gone. What do we do now?" Grim-faced, Luke gazed at the shoreline, his warrior blood pounding furiously as he strove to control himself. "Let's make sail. It'll look as if we're running away. We'll wait till dark, Verg. Then we'll go back and get 'em." Drums pounded everywhere. At first, Cardo thought they were inside his skull, causing the massive headache which woke him. However, he saw that they were all too real when he opened his eyes. It was a scene that turned his blood to ice. Though, strangely, everything was wrong side up. Like the rest of his crewmates, he had been bound tight and slung lengthways on a stout pole so that his head hanged down. The poles had been hoisted up on ropes, close to the ceiling of a big cave, with a fire burning at its center. Rock ledges had been carved around the cave walls in tiers, and these were crowded with hundreds of small, fierce, rat-like rodents, unlike any Cardo had ever seen. They were covered with intricate patterns of red, orange, and white dyes, with clattering seashells affixed to ears, paws, and tails. At the rear of the cave were two massive drums, atop which 40 or 50 of the rodents performed a stamping dance. The sound boomed and banged relentlessly, increased fourfold as it echoed around the cave's interior. Crouching by the fire was a figure far larger than the rest, obviously a female weasel, draped from ears to tail with long necklaces and bracelets made from painted crab claws. Her face was daubed in thick white clay, black charcoal lines accentuating the features. Bo was hanging alongside Cardo. He opened his eyes, looked around, and then squinched his ears flat peevishly and called down to the rodents. "Put a flippin' bang on it, you chaps, what? Those drums are making my old noggin throb dreadfully. I say, you there! Yes, you, ma'am. Tell these blighters to desist. Rank bad manners to go thumping drums like that when a body's feeling all out of sorts. Now pack it jolly well in." As if by magic, complete silence fell. The remainder of the crew had awakened, and Bo winked at them knowingly. "Voice of command and discipline. That's the thing to give blinkin' troop, what?" The weasel sprang upright. Grabbing a long wand ornamented with dried sea urchins, she shook it, pointing first at the captives, then to somewhere at the back of the cave, between the two drums, and finally making a long sweeping gesture at the crammed masses of rodents. "Ramatoma! Slaris! Yagurima!" This seemed to drive the rodents into a frenzy. They laughed savagely, howling back at their leader. "Yamarahaga! Slaris! Ko Slaris!" Cole strained his head towards Bo. "Hope you ain't said the wrong thing, mate." The hare was quite indignant. "Wrong thing, laddie? Me? I should say not. Captain Diplomancy are the polemark of us Cosfortinghams. Hang on a tick, I'll have a word with that vermin lady and see what the position is as regards to loosing us from our bonds. What? Now then, my good villainess, do you think you could spare a few of those runty types to unbind me and my stalwart comrades? Some sort of save us hanging around, pardon the pun. Ignoring the hare's request, the weasel crouched and began making mysterious weaving patterns on the cave floor with her hand. The small rat-like creatures pointed at the captives and chanted aloud. Ko Slaris Rabatuma Slaris Ew! Denno shook a droplet of perspiration from his nose tip. Phew, I'm roasted. Doolam closed his eyes as if trying to block out his thoughts. Quiet, mate. That could be a bad choice of words. They might be flesh-eaters. Now the rodents had been dancing on the drumheads, deserted their posts, swiftly scrabbling onto the ledges alongside the rest. Casting something into the fire, the weasel caused the flames to burn green. Then she went to the drums and began tapping her wand alternately against the side of each one, calling out in a sibilant voice, Slaris! 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 Ever the optimist, Bo suggested brightly, You know, I'm not familiar with their lingo, but I'll wager Slaris is some sort of greeting, like, how do you do, or good evening, chaps. Perhaps I'd better return the compliment. Show some manners, what? I say, ma'am, Slaris to you too? Slaris? How's that? From a hidden opening behind the two drums, Slaris emerged. Bo's mouth went suddenly dry with fear. Even he was not ready for this. The snake's head was bright green and huge. It slid slowly out in a seemingly never-ending ripple of sleek coils. As if searching, its flickering tongue quested out and around restlessly, eyes glittering in the firelight, twin diamonds of primitive evil. Lazily, the green and black chevroned coils formed into several loops, one atop the other, with the flat reptilian head resting at their peak. Standing at the other side of the fire, the weasel poked the tip of her long wand in the flames until it was glowing. Not one creature in the cave made a sound or moved a muscle. The snake was hunting, seeking a victim. The crew hung motionless, stiff with terror. Bo was not aware of the glowing wand's end approaching behind his head. Suddenly the weasel touched it against the tip of his long right ear. Yeah! He shook his head. Slaris! Not a paw's length away, the snake swayed its head, mouth open, fangs bared dangerously, hissing its challenge. The hare found himself staring into the reptile's eyes. Frozen with nameless dread, he hung there, helpless. And that's where we're going to end it. Oh boy. Thank you so much for joining me. Tune in next week for the thrilling continuation of this adventure. But for real, thank you so much for joining me. If you're enjoying the videos, please like, share, subscribe, the whole thing. Comment, interact. Again, huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you would like to join them and support the channel, there's a link to do so in the description. You do get access to the Discord, digital downloads, as well as one day discounts on merch. So there'll be that. But I think that concludes it for today. I will see you guys next week. I hope you have a good week. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Bye, guys.